She married a man no one dared to face, but what she discovered will shatter her world. The price he hid. The night Aisha was married, the entire village whispered a single sentence behind their closed doors. She sold her youth to save her sister. And maybe they were right. The bridal veil weighed heavy on her head, but not heavier than the truth she was hiding. At barely 22, she sat in a car beside a man old enough to be her grandfather. Waris Khan, the most feared landlord in the region, rich, powerful, ruthless, and 70 years old. People believed he could crush a person with a single command. But Aisha didn't marry him for comfort. She married him to protect her 16-year-old sister, Miriam, from a false case, a trap laid by men far more dangerous than their fragile lives could fight. As the car drove deeper into the barren fields, toward Khan's isolated Haveli, fear twisted in her stomach. The darkness outside felt alive, watching her. The silence inside the car was louder than thunder. Waris Khan didn't even glance at her. He looked out the window like she didn't exist. Aisha spoke first. "Son, thank you for saving Mariam." No response. Only the sound of tires slicing the dirt road. Her chest tightened. She knew he hated this marriage. He hadn't wanted a young bride, but the old men in the village council insisted he needed a woman in his house again after decades. They suggested Aisha. And he agreed. But why? That unanswered question gnawed at her ribs. When the gates of the Haveli opened, Aisha felt as if she was entering a world completely cut off from life, silent corridors, cold stone walls, and servants who didn't make eye contact. Everything felt frozen, except her heart, which pounded violently. Her room was large, dimly lit, and lonely. Waris Khan walked her there without slowing down, without looking back. When they reached the door, he finally spoke, his voice deep, steady, and void of emotion. "You will live here. You will not enter the west wing of the Haveli, ever." Aisha blinked. "The west wing?" Before she could ask anything, he added, "And you will never ask me personal questions." Then he walked away as if he hadn't just shackled her with new chains. That night, Aisha lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering what life she had stepped into. The wind howled through the broken window frames, and the rotting wooden floors creaked under invisible footsteps. Every sound felt like a warning. She wasn't afraid of Waris Khan's age. She was afraid of the darkness inside him, the silence that clung to him, the secrets he carried in his eyes, and the price he seemed to be hiding. The first morning, a horrifying discovery. At dawn, Aisha stepped out into the courtyard. The air smelled of damp soil and old memories. Servants moved like shadows, doing their chores in dead silence, as if speaking too loud might anger the walls themselves. She approached one of the older servants, Biwi. "Is breakfast ready?" Aisha asked politely. Biwi stiffened, her eyes darted around nervously. We do not serve breakfast in this house until the Khan comes downstairs." "And when does he come?" "Sometimes at sunrise, sometimes not for 3 days." Aisha frowned. 3 days. "What does he do in the West Wing?" she asked casually. Bibi dropped the metal jug she was holding. The sound clanged across the courtyard like a scream. "No one asks about the West Wing, not even we go there." Her voice trembled. "And you must never go there either, for your own sake." Before Aisha could respond, another servant hissed at Bibi. "Don't talk too much, or you know what happens." Fear thickened the air. Aisha felt goosebumps crawl across her arms. What was in that wing? Why was everyone so terrified? As she walked back toward her room, she noticed something strange. The West Wing windows were covered with metal bars. From the inside, a shiver ran down her spine. A shadow in a corridor. That night, Aisha woke up to the sound of footsteps, slow, dragging, and uneven. She froze. Then she heard a low groan. Not like someone in pain. More like someone trying to hold back a scream. She stepped out of her room, heart hammering. The corridor was empty. But then a shadow moved across the far end, large, distorted, and trembling. Aisha's throat dry. "Is someone there?" she whispered. The shadow disappeared. Suddenly, Waris Khan appeared behind her. He wasn't angry. He wasn't surprised. But his expression was something she had never seen before. Fear. Real, raw fear. He grabbed her arm firmly, but not painfully. "You do not roam at night," he said in a low voice. "You hear something, you ignore it. You see something, you forget it. Do you understand?" Aisha nodded slowly, confused. "Who's in the West Wing?" she dared to ask. His jaw tightened. "Do not ask again." "But you want your sister to stay safe, don't you?" Her breath caught. He was threatening her, reminding her of the trade she had made. She swallowed her fear and nodded. Waris let go of her hand and walked away, disappearing into the darkness of the very wing she was forbidden to enter. The West Wing door shut behind him with a heavy metallic clang. Aisha stood there shaken, realizing something chilling. He wasn't just hiding a secret, he was guarding it. And whatever it was, terrified him. A human cry. On the third night, Aisha heard it again, this time louder. A sob, a real human sob, echoing from the West Wing. She covered her ears. No, this can't be happening. But it continued. Desperate, heartbreaking, like someone imprisoned for years. She ran into the courtyard and found Bibi. "There is someone locked in that wing," Aisha whispered harshly. Bibi's face turned pale. "Go back to your room. Forget what you heard." "I can't." Aisha's eyes filled with tears. "That person is crying. Why isn't anyone helping?" Bibi looked at the moonlit sky for a long time before whispering, "Because helping them means dying." Aisha felt cold. "Who is in there?" she pressed. But Bibi only lowered her gaze and said, "Child, some truths are heavier than sin." The next morning, Waris Khan left the Haveli suddenly, taking 2 guards with him. The servants whispered that he would not return until nightfall. Aisha's heart thumped. This was her chance. Every step towards a West Wing felt like stepping deeper into danger. The corridor was colder here, the air thick with dust and something else, grief. She reached the door. It was locked with 3 heavy chains. but something caught her eye. Near the bottom of the door, small scratch marks, like fingernails clawing for escape. Her stomach twisted. She knelt and touched them. They were recent. And then she found something wedged between the floor tiles. A small silver bangle. A child's bangle. Her breath hitched. There was a name engraved inside. Arish. Aisha's voice cracked. A child? Is there a child in there? Her head spun. Why would Waris Khan hide a child? Why imprison one? Unless a sudden hand gripped her shoulder tightly. She gasped and turned. It was Bibi Gul. She wasn't angry, but terrified. You must leave this place. Now, Bibi Gul whispered urgently. Before you end up like the others. What others? Aisha whispered. Bibi Gul opened her mouth to speak. But then, a deafening sound filled the Haveli. A roar of rage. Deep. Animalistic. And coming from the west wing. Bibi Gul shoved Aisha away from the door. Run! The floor shook with violent banging from the inside of a locked wing. Chains rattled. Wood cracked. Aisha's feet refused to move. Something or someone was trying to break free. When Waris Khan returned at sunset, he stormed into the Haveli like a man possessed. His eyes scanned the corridors with burning fury until they landed on Aisha. He walked up to her, breathing hard. Did you go near the west wing? Aisha didn't lie. Yes. His eyes closed in pain as if she had stabbed him. You don't understand what you've done, he said quietly. Then explain, she pleaded. Who is Arish? Why is there a child crying in that wing? Why are you hiding this? Waris Khan looked at her with a grief so deep it drowned all his harshness. Then he whispered, Because that child is the reason my entire family is dead. Aisha froze. And if he ever gets out, Waris continued, voice trembling, he will kill everyone in this house, including you. Aisha's heart crashed inside her chest. Waris Khan, the feared monster, the emotionless tyrant, was hiding a child. A child connected to death. A child he feared. A child who screamed behind chained doors every night. And now, Aisha was trapped in a marriage, a Haveli, and a secret that could destroy her life. Aisha stood frozen in the dimly lit corridor, her pulse slamming against her ribs. Waris Khan's words replayed in her head like thunder echoing in an empty valley. That child is the reason my entire family is dead. She couldn't process it. A child? A killer? Locked behind chains thick enough to bind a grown man? Waris Khan staggered back until his trembling hands found a chair. He lowered himself with a heaviness that didn't match his authority. Aisha had never seen fear on the man's face before. Not even when villagers bowed their heads in front of him. Not even when armed men stood outside during land feuds. But now his shoulders looked small, his eyes looked old, his silence looked broken. Aisha gathered her courage. Tell me the truth, she whispered. You owe me that much. He looked up, pain etched into every line on his face. You think I owe you something? He said, you bargained your life to save your sister. That was the price you paid, not me. Aisha stepped closer. And what is the price you hid? Khan Sahib? His jaw tightened. She didn't move. Neither did he. It was a battle of silence, the kind that always breaks the most fragile heart first. Finally, he spoke. The child, with the cursed eyes. Arish was born 7 years ago, Waris began quietly. The only son of my youngest daughter, Mewish. Aisha's breath caught. You had a daughter? I had 4, he whispered. All gone now. She felt her chest tighten. What happened to them? Waris looked away, his voice hollow. Arish happened. Aisha felt her knees weaken. A newborn baby, she said. You're seeing, a baby killed your daughters. His eyes snapped back to hers. No, not a baby. Not after what he became. A pause. Cold, long, heavy. Waris Khan continued. Arish changed. His eyes would turn black, completely black, whenever he got scared or angry or touched by strangers. Animals refused to go near him. Birds died in their cages when he was carried into the room. My wife collapsed after holding him for the first time. Aisha felt a chill race down her arms. But he's just a child. He's not just anything. Waris's voice cracked. He is the only survivor of a fire that burned my entire family alive. Aisha covered her mouth in shock. A fire? Waris nodded. He was 4. He woke up screaming. The house started shaking. Mewish tried to calm him, but when she touched him, the windows burst. The chandelier fell. Flames erupted out of nowhere. Aisha's skin prickled. Waris, she whispered. Are you saying Arish started the fire? He held her gaze broken, defeated. I saw it with my own eyes. His voice trembled. My daughter was burning, but he was sitting in the fire unharmed, not even a single hair burned. Aisha felt every belief she had collapse inside her. No, this can't be real. That's what I told myself, Waris said, for years, until I couldn't anymore. He leaned back, staring at the ceiling as if his past was painted across it. When doctors saw Arish's condition, they called him dangerous. When the villagers found out, they called him cursed. When my relatives learned the truth, they wanted to kill him. What did you do? Aisha whispered. What any father would do, Waris shrugged weakly. I chose my blood over my family's lives. Aisha froze. You locked him here, alone? Better alone than dead, he said with a voice full of guilt. And better locked than free. A silence so heavy settled between them that even the night wind outside refused to breathe. The cry that broke her heart. That night, the Haveli felt colder, its shadows longer, its walls heavier. Aisha couldn't sleep. She kept hearing the child's sobs from the west wing, each one piercing through her like a knife dipped in guilt. She thought of Mariam, her little sister, her laughter, her innocence. What if someone ever locked Mariam for a curse that she couldn't control? Her throat tightened painfully. Waris Khan's tragedy was real. His fear was real. But so was Arish's loneliness. Aisha got up in the dark, grabbed her shawl, and walked toward the forbidden corridor. Every step felt like a rebellion. The child's crying grew clearer, soft, broken, hopeless. Aisha pressed her hand against the cold metal door. Arish, she whispered gently. Beta, are you there? The crying stopped. Silence swallowed her. Then, a tiny scared voice trembling like a leaf. Are you? Mama? Aisha's breath hitched painfully. No, Beta, I'm not your mama, but I'm here. A sniffle came from inside. Everyone leaves. They say I'm bad. Her heart shattered. No, you are not bad, Aisha whispered firmly. You are just alone. A faint rustle behind the door. Are you afraid of me? Aisha's eyes filled with tears. No, Beta, I'm afraid for you. Silence again. But this time it felt less empty. Then, a small hand slipped out from beneath the door. Tiny fingers, shaking. Cold. Aisha gasped softly. Without thinking, she held them. Warmth traveled through the cracks under the door and into her bones. A child, an innocent child, trapped, cursed, abandoned. Her voice trembled as she squeezed his fingers gently. I'm here, Arish. I won't leave. He sobbed quietly. You'll come again? Yes, she whispered. I promise. She didn't know that promises in cursed houses always come with a price. Waris Khan's breakdown. The next morning, Waris Khan noticed a change. For the first time, Aisha didn't flinch or avoid him. She didn't walk around like a prisoner or stay silent like a ghost. She looked determined. And that terrified him. Aisha, he said at breakfast, you will not go near that door again. She didn't answer. He slammed his cane on the floor. Do you hear me? Bibi Gul quickly lowered her gaze. Servants froze mid-step. Aisha lifted her eyes slowly. I hear you, she said, but I also heard him. Waris's breath caught. That child, he began. Is a child, Aisha interrupted. A lonely, broken child who thinks he's the reason his mother burned. Waris's eyes widened. You talked to him? Aisha didn't blink. Yes. He stood abruptly, his face pale with fear. Then God help us all. He grabbed her arm roughly. You don't understand what you've done. Then make me understand, she cried. You keep saying he's cursed, but all I hear is a little boy begging for love. Aisha. You think he killed your daughter? Aisha challenged. Or did you lock him away because you couldn't bear to look at what was left of her? Waris flinched visibly. The cane fell from his trembling hand. The servants gasped. Aisha instantly regretted her words. But sometimes truth slices deeper than knives. Waris turned away, shoulders shaking. In my entire life, he whispered, no one has spoken to me like this. Aisha softened. Maybe because no one dared, she said gently. But I am not your enemy. He didn't turn. But she noticed something. A single tear rolling down his aged cheek. The day Arish touched the sunlight. 2 days passed. Aisha visited Arish secretly every night. She brought him food under the door, sang him lullabies, told him stories, held his little hand when he cried. He never turned violent, never screamed, never changed. He was just scared, terrified of a world that rejected him before he even learned how to walk. On the 3rd day, something happened. The chains rattled lightly. Aisha Baji? Arish whispered from inside. Yes, Beta? I want to see the sun. Her heart twisted like a knot. You can't, she whispered, voice breaking. One day. No, now, he said quietly. I had a dream last night. Mama said the sun is waiting for me. Aisha's eyes filled with uncontrollable tears. Before she could answer, she heard footsteps behind her. She turned. Waris Khan stood there. Expression unreadable. Eyes stormy, heart torn. How long have you been listening? She whispered. Long enough, he said quietly. To see that the boy is calm when you are with him. Aisha stepped back. Let him out for a few minutes, she begged. Let him see light. Once. Just once. Waris closed his eyes as if the sun itself burned him. I can't risk it. He's a child, Aisha pleaded. Your grandson. Waris looked away. Exactly, he whispered. He carries my blood and my curse. Aisha stared at him, really stared. And for the first time, she realized something piercing. Waris didn't fear Arish. He feared losing him. He feared losing the last piece of his daughter. He feared the world taking Arish away. So he built walls instead of protection. Prisons instead of love. Her voice softened. Let me help you. Let me help him. Let me help us. Waris's lips trembled. A pause. Long. Painful. Then he stepped aside. Aisha's breath caught. Open the door, he said quietly. Her heart leapt into her throat. Are you sure? No, he whispered. But sometimes the price we hide becomes the price we must pay. Aisha reached for the chains. Her hands shook. The first lock clicked open, then the second, then the third. The door creaked. Darkness seeped out. Arish stood inside, small, fragile, barefoot, his big eyes blinking at the faint streak of sunlight sliding onto the floor. He lifted his tiny hand into it. Warmth touched his skin. Aisha's breath caught. Waris held onto the wall, terrified. Arish stepped forward. 1 step, 2 steps, 3. The sunlight hit his face. And the boy smiled. Aisha gasped softly, tears spilling. But then the air suddenly shifted. The ground vibrated faintly. A thin wind burst from nowhere. Arish's pupils dilated, and before Aisha could even breathe, his eyes turned completely black. Waris screamed, Aisha, move! But she didn't move. She just whispered, Arish, Beta, look at me. Arish's eyes turned black, not dark, not brown, not shadowed, black, pitch black, like the world had vanished inside them. Aisha froze, not out of fear, but out of heartbreak. The little boy trembling before her was not a killer. He was a child drowning in a storm he never asked for. Waris Khan stepped forward, shouting, Move away from him. Aisha, move. Aisha didn't even blink. No, she whispered. He needs someone who doesn't run. The wind swirling around Arish picked up. Dust rose from the floor. A strange pressure filled the corridor, like the air itself was holding its breath. Arish gasped, voice shaking. Bachi, it's happening again. I don't want it to happen. Aisha took a step toward him. Arish stumbled back. No, he cried. If I touch you, you will burn. Everybody burns. Aisha shook her head, tears slipping down her cheeks. I won't burn, Beta, I promise. Behind her, Waris shouted, Stop, don't go near him. You don't understand his emotions, Trigger. But Aisha wasn't listening. She reached out her hand, slow, calm, fearless. Arish sobbed, his tiny fist clenched at his sides. The air vibrated with invisible energy. Aisha whispered, Arish, look at me. Just me. Nothing else exists. And the impossible happened. Arish lifted his tear-filled black eyes to hers. The wind died. The air stilled. The Haveli fell silent. Then, slowly, painfully, the blackness in his eyes began to fade. Dark to gray, gray to brown, brown to soft amber. His gaze softened. Baji, you didn't leave. Aisha dropped to her knees and pulled him into her arms. No one is leaving you ever again, Arish, she whispered into his hair. Waris collapsed against the wall, stunned, relieved, terrified, shattered. Waris Khan approached them cautiously, fear still gripping his bones. Arish clung to Aisha's clothes, trembling. Aisha, step away, Waris pleaded. You don't know what he is. Aisha looked up, eyes fierce, voice steady. He is a child, Waris Khan, not a curse, not a monster, a child. Waris swallowed hard. You saw what he did? I saw what fear did, Aisha snapped. The world feared him. His own family feared him. Even you, his last blood, feared him. Waris looked at the trembling boy in Aisha's arms. His lips quivered. My daughter died because of him. Aisha shook her head gently. Or maybe your daughter died because she didn't know how to help him. Waris flinched like she had struck him. You think I don't hate myself every day? Waris whispered brokenly. You think I don't replay the fire in my dreams? You think I don't ask God why my bloodline ends in tragedy? He dropped to his knees beside them. I kept him alive because he was the only thing left of her, but I didn't know how to love him. Aisha softened. The world softened. Even the shadows softened. She took Waris's hand and placed it on Arish's back. Arish stiffened in fear, but Aisha whispered, It's okay, Beta, it's your dada. Waris's touch shook, not with anger, but with years of held-back grief. Tears fell from his eyes onto the floor. For the first time in years, he touched his grandson, and the boy didn't burn. He simply whimpered and nuzzled closer to Aisha. A child seeking safety, a man seeking forgiveness, a woman holding both broken worlds together. The haven for the cursed. That night, the household changed forever. Waris ordered all servants to leave the west wing open. No more chains, no more locks, no more darkness. But fear had a habit of clinging to old bones. The villagers noticed lanterns lit in the west wing. They whispered. Rumors spread faster than fire. The cursed boy is free. The landlord has lost his mind. Dark things will happen. Soon, villagers gathered outside the Haveli gates, worried, restless. Aisha and Waris watched them from the courtyard. They won't let Arish live in peace, Aisha whispered. Waris tightened his trembling grip on his cane. They tried to kill him once, they will try again. Aisha looked at him. What will you do? Waris inhaled deeply, lifting his head like the man he once was. What I should have done years ago. He walked to the main gate, his tall figure casting a shadow of authority the villagers still recognized. Silence fell. A crow cawed. A baby cried in the distance. Wind rustled through trees. Waris Khan's voice thundered, "No one, and I mean no one, will touch my grandson." The crowd murmured nervously. "He has a gift," Waris continued. "A dangerous one, but it is not his fault. He is a child, and he is under my protection." A man shouted, "He burned your family, Khan Sahib." Waris straightened out his spine. "He is the last memory of my family." The villagers stared, some confused, some fearful, some softened by his conviction. "For years," Waris said, voice breaking, "I hid him. I hated myself. I punished him for something he didn't choose. But today," he placed a hand on his chest, "today I accept him." The crowd looked at Aisha then. She stood tall, holding Arish in her arms. "We will help him control it," she proclaimed. "We will teach him, protect him, love him." The villagers didn't agree, not instantly. Fear does not melt like snow. It melts like stone, slowly, unevenly, painfully. But not a single villager stepped forward. Not a single hand reached for violence. They turned, whispered, dispersed. The storm had passed, not defeated, but delayed. A week passed. Arish slept in a real bed. He ate with Aisha. He sat in sunlight. He laughed quietly, cautiously. Every night, Aisha read stories to him. Every morning, Waris tried to talk to him. Slow steps, tender attempts, small miracles. But Arish's power didn't disappear. It only dulled. Each time he was scared, the lights flickered. Each time he cried, the windows shook. Each time he was touched by fear, shadows circled the walls. Aisha learned something. Arish wasn't dangerous on his own. He was dangerous when he felt unloved. Love wasn't his weakness. It was his leash, his anchor, his cure. And suddenly, the child who once burned became the child who healed. He started sitting beside Waris during meals, started walking barefoot in the garden, started calling Aisha, Baji, sister, Ammi. One evening, rain poured heavily outside, lightning split in the sky. Arish clung to Aisha's shawl. He hates storms. Thunder made the windows rattle violently. Aisha, Baji, don't go, he cried as she stood up to close a window. Arish, I'm right here, she promised. I will never leave you. Waris watched them from his armchair. You remind me of Mewish, he murmured. She was gentle too, just like you. Aisha smiled sadly. She must have been wonderful. She was, Waris whispered. And if she were alive, she would thank you for loving her son. Aisha hugged Arish tighter. The boy whispered against her shoulder. Baji, will you stay forever? She closed her eyes. Yes, Beta, she breathed. I will stay forever. Waris watched her, and for the first time, he allowed himself to hope. But fate never gives without taking. 3 months later, Waris's health collapsed suddenly. Doctors came. Medicines didn't work. His heart weakened. His body shrank. His breaths shortened. Arish held Waris's hand every day, terrified his touch might hurt him, but Aisha guided him gently. Love doesn't hurt, she whispered. Not this kind. One night, Waris called Aisha to his bedside. Aisha, Promise me something. Ji, Khan Sahib. When I'm gone, don't let the world take him. Her throat tightened painfully. I won't. And don't let him hate himself. His voice trembled. Don't let him believe the lies I told him. Aisha wiped his tears. You did what you thought was right. I did what fear made me do, Waris whispered brokenly. And fear always asks for too big a price. Arish climbed onto the bed, curling beside him. Dada, don't go. Waris kissed his forehead. Beta, I'm going to tell your mama something. Arish sobbed. Waris looked at Aisha. You saved me, he whispered. Not from death, but from myself. Aisha cried silently. Waris smiled weakly. Take care of my grandson. And then, with Aisha holding his hand and Arish pressed against his chest, Waris Khan breathed his last. The curse broke. The fear died. The truth was free. And the price he hid was finally paid. The new dawn, months later. Arish ran barefoot in the courtyard, sunlight pouring over him like a blessing. Aisha watched from the doorway. No more chains, no more darkness, no more crying behind locked doors. The boy who once feared his own shadow now laughed under open skies. A villager walked past the gate. Instead of fear, he smiled at the boy. Kuda tumhari hifazat kare, beta. Arish blinked surprised. Then he smiled, a real smile, bright, pure, alive. Aisha stepped into the sunlight. Ready for breakfast? She asked warmly. Arish ran to her and took her hand. Budgie, do you think I'm normal now? She knelt, cupping his face with deep love. You were always normal, Beta. You were just misunderstood. Arish hugged her tightly. And as Aisha held him, watching the Haveli bathe in morning light, she finally understood. Sometimes the curse is not in the child, but in the hearts that refuse to see love. And sometimes the biggest price a person hides is the one they pay for being afraid. The story closed not with fire, but with healing. Not with chains, but with choices. Not with loss, but with love. The end. The price. He hid. The hidden price has been paid. The secret is out. Show your love by hitting like and subscribe.